Hey, hi, hello. As you have already seen from the title of this video, this week, instead of doing a regular reading vlog, I am going to be reading A Court of Thorns and Roses for the very first time. So over the course of the next 2 months, every once in a while, instead of having a normal weekly reading vlog like I have every single Monday, I'm going to have an ACOTAR reading vlog because I am doing a lot of secret TBRs over the course of the next 2 months, and I think it's more fun if you don't know anything about them. So I will not just be reading this book this week, but the other books that I will be reading this week will be a surprise to you. This week we will be reading ACOTAR, because I'm assuming you're reading it with me for some reason. I will be reading ACOTAR for the very first time. This book series has been on my will never read list since it came out. I remember reading Throne of Glass, which is also by Sarah J. Maas, if you don't know, and feeling like I really enjoyed the first few books, but around the time that these ones came out, book 5 was coming out in that series, and I was feeling less sure about her as an author. I had some change of heart, which means I had some people contact me saying that they wanted to do a buddy read for these books, all 4 of them, and so I decided that I would change my mind and I would do it. So I bought all 4 in these beautiful gray hardback editions, and I'm going to be reading them with you all for the first time. Now, I would like to say something really quickly. First off, there will be spoilers in this video. I will be spoiling this book and only this book. You don't have to worry about the later ones if you haven't read the later ones yet. But I have actually already spoiled myself for the first 3 books in this series. I know 0 things about A Court of Silver Flames, but I know pretty much everything that happens in the first 3 books because in those years where I decided not to read these books, I pretty much said, well, who cares if I watch those spoilery reviews? So I know extreme details that I am not supposed to know. And it's just gonna be kind of a weird experience because it's almost like I'm going to be living someone else's memories, right? It's a weird one, but I haven't actually read the book. So I'm gonna be sitting down tonight, I'm gonna do some sprints with myself and get through a good chunk of this book. It is only 430 something pages, so I'm really hoping I can get through this in a few days, but I have slotted out 7 days if I need to. I'm excited. I have kind of a small prediction I'd like to make. So from what I know about this book is it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it is about a girl named Feyre, and she interacts with some fae. I don't know who named her that and then interacted her with some fae. Like, her name is literally long for fae. She one day kills a wolf in a section of the woods that she was not supposed to be in, or she wasn't supposed to kill anything in, and so she's taken to the fairy court. And I'm pretty sure in this one, let me check before I say anything. Good thing I didn't say anything because the thing I was about to say was gonna happen in a later book. But she runs into a fae there who is kind of a monster. His name is Tamlin, and so he is kind of the beast in the Beauty and the Beast half, and she is the beauty. And they develop a romantic relationship with each other. Because I do know the rest of the series, I'm kind of expecting me not to fall for some things in this book that I know I'm supposed to fall for, but also, depending on how it's written, I might just be like the rest of you all and just suckered in. We'll see. Before I even start, 2 final things. I am going to be tabbing this book as I go, and I'm going to be using my 3-color system. So I don't know how much I'll be tabbing because I haven't read it yet, but my 3-color system is pretty simple. I use 3 colors. They change every single book, so I use up all my tabs. And 1 color means love, 1 color means hate, and 1 color means important. And so that means that I tab for anything that I really love, a quote or a character or a scene, something that just really stands out to me in that moment, and I tab it because I might want to come back to it one day. I then tab anything I hate. So if I think the plot took a weird turn, if I think a character's being really dumb, if I think a quote was really poorly written, if I think that a character is acting outside of their norm and for not reasons that the author was intending, that's usually a hate. And then important is anything that I feel like I might want to reference again later that's important to the plot or important to the story. So say for instance, something is revealed about a character, I might tab that as important. Before we start this bad boy, my final thing I want to talk to you all about is I want to make a prediction. I know very little about, you know, the page to page information, but I know a lot about the overall of this book. So I'm going to make a prediction right now that I will rate this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. I have actually written down predictions for all 4 of the books before I've even started this one, but based on how this one goes, my predictions might change and things might get kind of exciting, but I will let you guys know at the beginning of each of the other videos what I thought my prediction was going to be at this moment before I start anything, and what I think my prediction will be after I've read each coming book. Stay tuned if you want to see this. I know Sarah J. Maas is kind of controversial, and I know that reading another white author is not something we need anywhere online, but if we're being completely honest, none of us actually need online, and I'm just trying to have a little bit of fun here and enjoy myself, and I thought this would be an enjoyable video because it's hard to meet people nowadays who haven't read ACOTAR. I'm gonna go braid my hair because it is very wet, and then I'm going to sit down and I'm going to start sprinting. Morning. I sat and read A Court of Thorns and Roses last night until I fell asleep, which means that I couldn't come and talk to you last night about the section that I read. But I've done the math and I need to read 60 pages a day in order to finish by the time I wanted to finish, and I don't think that's going to be a hard thing to do, and I think most days I'm going to aim to read more than that. Last night I actually read to page 74, and that puts me right at chapter 8. Now, I did say there were spoilers in this video, so I'm about to tell you some stuff. Feyre has been introduced. We've met her 2 sisters and her father, and she went and killed the wolf, and then she talked to this mercenary, sold the stuff, went back to her home, and was attacked by a fae. The fae told her that because he had killed one of them, that the wolf was a fae, that she had one of 2 choices. Either she had to be killed on the spot, or she had to give up her life and return to the Fae realm, which is a word I can't pronounce. I've been told multiple times how to pronounce it. It's like Prythian, yeah. Thanks for choosing that hard of a word, Sarah. I appreciate it. So she decides to return with him because life over death, and she's thinking in the back of her head that at some point she might still be able to escape or get away from him. And she gets to his manor. It's like a very wealthy place, and finds out that he is a high fae. And things start to go kind of odd. He starts treating her gently. Like, we'll talk about it in a second. I'll just continue on. So she gets set up there, and I am on her 2nd day there, and she starts looking around, and the High Fae mentions to her that something weird has happened with magic, that they seem to have been cursed because every Fae, and I don't know if it's just on his land or all Fae everywhere, are perpetually stuck in this one night where they were celebrating a masquerade ball, and that they think that, did they say they think that she can, I don't think he says at this point that he thinks that she's gonna be able to break it, but I'm assuming that he thinks that because 1, this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and of course Bella's the person to break the curse, and 2, I marked a few tabs on here. I'll tell you what they all mean later, but some of the tabs I marked were him speaking and him just being kind of instant. And I'm assuming that there is actually some reason behind why he's saying the things he's saying and why he's acting the way he's acting. But at this point, I don't have a reason for it, and it just feels kind of out of the blue and unrealistic. So let's talk about my tabs. So I have been tabbing with 3 colors, pink, yellow, and orange. And I told you yesterday what they are, but I'm going to tell you what each color actually means. So pink is important. And of course, I chose colors that you're not going to be able to tell super well. Pink is important. Orange is love, and yellow is hate. So I've started to notice a pattern already, which is really exciting, and I enjoy being able to see that. A lot of my orange tabs are either Feyre or Nesta being really powerful or really strong, and I'm very happy that this book has kind of gotten rid of one of my biggest complaints about Throne of Glass, which is Aelin doesn't necessarily allow people to do her work for her, but Ronan and Aedion step in a lot to protect her. And I'm glad so far that I'm not seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing a lot of people being like, nah, I'm going to take care of this myself, back down. I'm also really in love with this idea that Nesta, and I don't know much about Nesta to be completely honest. She is book 4, but I don't know anything else about her. All the spoilers I know have left her out of it, so that's really exciting that she's kind of fresh to me. I have this image in my head though that she is cold and harsh because she is a product of her environment, and that we're gonna see something exciting happen from her. What I really want to see happen from her is I want to see her come back and not necessarily be the savior, but I want her to come back after her sister. I know that she acts like she doesn't love her sister, but I really think it comes from a place of jealousy, and it comes from a place of hatred, misplaced hatred from her mother's death, from being poor, from seeing Feyre kind of sees herself as being the only person who can take care of them. And I don't know, if Nesta actually will like show back up in this book or not, but I'm really hoping that it does happen. I also noticed though that my pattern of yellows, every single yellow tab so far is when Tamlin has spoken. And I'm not saying that every single time Tamlin speaks, I mark it with a yellow tab, but every single yellow tab is a Tamlin quote. And it's simply because what I said earlier with his insta love personality, it's not even love necessarily, but it's like insta infatuation. And let me get you some, for instance, so that I'm not just sitting here seeming like a crazy person. He finds out that this girl has killed his best friend, and he shows up on her doorstep, and she says, okay, a life for a life, you can kill me. And my reaction as someone who finds, let's say, for example, that the Fae, they think of themselves as way better than humans. So if I as a person had a best friend that was mauled to death by a dog, and I found that dog or came across that dog, and the dog somehow, it was told to me by the keepers or the people that the dog was going to be put to death, my first reaction would be, okay, yeah, do that. It might kill other people. It might become horrible. Like, it killed a person. It didn't just like bite a person where we can take care of it, or it didn't just fake attack someone. It killed someone, put it to death. But instead, Tamlin, when he runs into this woman who willingly gives herself up and is like, I'm going to allow you to kill me. I'm not going to put up a fight. You're right. It is only the honorable thing to do kind of mentality. He says, yeah, I could kill you, or I could bring you to the fairyland. And then later on in the page, he says, you can live on my property. Like, unprovoked. There's no emotional attachment he has to this girl. She didn't like cry or whine or actually killing her was going to be the worst thing ever. It really felt like it came out of nowhere, which is part of why I think something has to be going on with him, because there have been a few moments now that I've tabbed where it's like, you're being really nice out of nowhere. Like, she sits down to dinner and he's just like, your hair is clean. And I'm like, what are you doing, boy? And then there's also the line where he doesn't answer her questions a lot of times, which is, I think, really the author's way of not letting the reader find out the answers. But he tells her that he set up a means of support for her family so that they're not going to starve and that they're not going to be dead in the next few months because they can't take care of themselves. And she says, why didn't you tell me this while we were at my house, I would have much more willingly come with you. Like, even though she was willing, she, you know, still carried a knife on her and was still looking for any way to escape at any time. And he just says, would you have believed me? But Faye can't lie. I think she would have believed you. I mean, Sarah J. Maas wrote that she wouldn't have believed her, but I think she would have. And then the final thing that I really didn't like about Tamlin was, so when Feyre finally agrees to start eating at his palace, he monitors very closely how much she eats. And I understand that it came from a place of care, and he was like, you're a human, you're just gonna you're just gonna keep eating until you vomit, and then it's not gonna be pretty, and I don't want that to happen because you're not gonna feel good, and the maid's not gonna feel good, and I'm not gonna feel good. But of course, he doesn't pitch it that way. He just takes her food away from her while she's eating and says, if you have one more bite, you will throw up or you will be sick. I don't know. One of the things that you look for in a man who isn't totally right or is really possessive of his woman is controlling how she looks, which he's doing because he's telling her what to wear. He's providing all of her clothing, telling her where she can go, which he's already done because she's walking through his palace, and he like found her and was like, what are you doing here? What's going on? Why are you walking through this part of the palace? Even though she was fully allowed to walk there. And then controlling how much they eat, how much they sleep, which he hasn't done any of the sleeping stuff. He's just controlling how much she eats at this point. And I know that it has to be because I don't know what's going on, but it just really seems odd, and I don't like Tamlin. He's not a great guy, and I'm expecting there to be some type of saving grace later, because I mean, something similar happens with the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, right? He shows up and he starts to realize that being cruel isn't the only way, and he starts softening to her, and they have snowball fights in the snow, and he gives her a library, and it's really cute and sweet, and you as the audience start to fall for him, and it's great. And I'm assuming something's gotta happen, but right now I'm not feeling this Tamlin dude. I haven't come and spoken to you guys in a few days because not really much has been happening. I think I last spoke to you guys somewhere around page 90 maybe, and I'm on page 200, and finally I have things to say. There's been about 100 pages of like Feyre and Tamlin just learning to not completely hate each other, and it's really not been anything worth commenting on. But oh boy, do I have comments, and I don't know how well you can see it, but there are a lot of yellow tabs on that last chapter. So they've been kind of getting to know each other and everything, and then this big party comes up, and Tamlin's like, Feyre, you can't go to it because there's going to be the Great Rite. And of course he doesn't explain to her what that is. He just says you need to stay locked in your room all night, no matter what. And of course, Feyre, being the person that she is, like, we've known her, like he knows her for months now at this point. He should have known she wasn't gonna listen to that. So of course, she escapes out of her whatever room and goes to investigate this Great Rite. And when she gets there, runs into a lot of fairies, runs into some more high fae. That's not really my issue here that we're going to be talking about. I think I know who some of those people are going to be, and I'm really excited if I'm right. But where my issue comes in is that there is this ceremony called the Great Rite, where the high fae of the land, in order to bring magic to their realm every single year, have to go through this, what do they call it? Performance. And what happens is the magic takes over Tamlin, mind, body, and soul, and turns him into a hunter. I'm reading directly from this right now. It will fill him with the sole purpose to find the maiden. From their coupling, magic will be released and spread to the earth, where it will regenerate life for the year to come. Tonight, Tamlin won't be the fairy you know. He won't even know his name. The magic will consume him. But that one basic command, need. Who's the maiden? Feyre asks. No one knows until it's time. After Tamlin hunts down the white stag and kills it for the sacrificial offering, he'll make his way to that sacred cove where he'll find the path lined with fairy females waiting to be chosen as his mate for tonight. Yes, all those female fairies around you were females. How many times do we have to say we're females in a row? For Tamlin to pick. It's an honor to be chosen, but it's his instincts that select her. What? Who the hell wrote this? What? And he's not the only one. Other males do it too tonight. And then Feyre was thinking about it, and she said, I wonder whether she was glad to be chosen. Probably. are we having no issue with the fact that this girl is just chosen and forced into having sex so that magic returns to the land? Are we not concerned about that now? Because I'm concerned about that. I have a few things I'd like to say. It doesn't matter how handsome the boy is. If I don't want to be with him, I don't want to be with him. And then Tamlin finds her and he says, I searched for you and you weren't there. When I didn't find you, it made me pick another. I know a few men who'd like to use that line. She asked me not to be gentle with her. I would have been gentle with you though. What the hell? What the hell is that kind of a line? Ugh. And then later he said, don't ever disobey me again. And I was just about ready to slam the book shut and give up forever. I'm enjoying myself. I would like to say, I know I'm mocking it right now, but I am enjoying myself. But then about 2 sentences later, finally, Feyre said, don't tell me what to do and don't bite me like some enraged beast, because when he finds her, he pins her against the wall and bites her neck. And I'm like, I don't think that was quite in the sexy way you thought it was going to be. Like, yeah, let's do some neck nibbling. That's totally sexy. I'm fine with it. But don't just like tear into her when she hasn't consented to it. That's not sexy. Chapter 21 was not my favorite, but I'm not giving up yet. I'm still enjoying myself. I just can't believe that chapter was written by a human female. Oh, now I'm using the word. Okay, I think I last talked to you guys yesterday when I had just finished this large section of yellow tabs. So I'm about 40 pages past that. I'm on page 240, which means I have 160 pages left. Even though I said I'm totally spoiling book 1 and I'm free to do that, I'm starting to get to the point where things are starting to set up for book 2. And since I know a lot of the spoilers in the plot of book 2, I'm just gonna have to be very careful about how I talk to you, the camera, and editing Amanda will just have to make doubly sure that I don't say anything about book 2, because I'm not spoiling book 2 in this video. Where I'm at, I think I last told you that they went to this like party. Feyre wasn't supposed to be there, but she snuck out, of course. The main 3 dudes have been just hanging out, and by dudes I mean Feyre, Tamlin, and Lucien have just been kind of hanging out at the palace. It's not really a palace, is it? It's a court. And then this other celebration thing happened. I think it was like, was it summer? Or did some of the other one? No, the first one was spring and then the next one was summer. And then this dude from the night court showed up, Rysand, and he basically threatened Tamlin and Feyre, and he just left where I'm at. He like, what'd they say? He vanished into nothing, as if he stepped through a rip in the world, leaving us alone in horrible trembling silence. And anytime you describe a character as, let's see, I tabbed it so I know exactly where to go. Short black hair gleaming with raven's feathers, offsetting his pale skin and blue eyes, so deep they were violet. That's my boy. That's my boy. Plus he's a bad guy. Plus I know book 2. I'm not supposed to be saying things to you. I am here. You can't tell. I am here in the book and I have a few things to discuss, but what's really exciting is I have actually stopped my bookmark right at the riddle, and that's the last thing we're going to talk about before I finish this clip out. Feyre and Tamlin had their special moment. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, I'm not gonna lie. It was sweet and caring, and it was kind of a fade to black. Like, we were there for it, we saw it happen, but like the raunchiest part of it, oh, my hair's dripping on my book. The raunchiest part of it was him ripping off her underwear, which like could be done in a really raunchy way, I guess, but I just have expected more from Sarah J Maas, I guess. And it wasn't a bad scene, it just wasn't what I was expecting. My hair is very wet right now. Okay, we're pushing it in the back. So it wasn't what I was expecting, but once again, it wasn't bad. And then we've had this whole entire part where we've kind of learned, okay, so Feyre returned to her family, and then we found out about Nesta, which, guys, Nesta, she was my favorite before, she's my favorite now. I love her. I cannot wait to get to Silver Flames, where I know the whole entire book is about her, because I mean, I said earlier in this video that I either thought or I wanted Nesta to come and save Feyre from the Fae realm. Come back and not necessarily be the savior, but I want her to come back after her sister. Why is she named Feyre and Fae? Is that gonna be something later? that's not the point. So I wanted Nesta to come for her, and we did get revealed that Nesta tried to come for her but got stuck at the wall because she couldn't pass it because she's human or whatever. I was so excited about that. And then there was a few other parts with Nesta where I was just like really excited to have her there, and I felt like they were really having a connection between the two of them. And then Feyre returns to the Spring Court and finds everyone gone except for Alice, and Alice tells her the entire backstory of the curse and this woman whose name I have yet to learn. I mean, I've had Feyre go to Under the Mountain and interact with this woman a few times now, and every single time I see her name on page, it's spelled Amarantha. Every single time I look at her name, my brain just goes, and that's how I read it. Like, I would literally read this. Let me find a good line with her name in it. There was movement to my right. I tensed as the ACOTAR peered through the parted crowd, grinning at me with row after row of teeth. After all, Amarantha waved an elegant hand to the space behind me. That's literally how I read her name. Let's sit here. Okay, we're going to try to work this out right now. As someone who listens to a lot of audiobooks, one of the convenient things is they tell you how to pronounce names. One of the inconvenient things about audiobooks, though, is I never bothered learning names. I just learned kind of the sound, and there's something different about, like, learning a name and learning the sound the name makes. Like, if you're not an audiobook listener, it's a weird phenomenon. Amarantha. That's a weird name. It's like Samantha with some different parts. Anyway, so we found out about her whole entire backstory about how her sister fell in love with a human and the human betrayed her on purpose, and how she killed the human, and then she put a curse on like all of the Fae. No. She took control of all of the Fae's magic and then put a curse on Tamlin and the Spring Court that if he couldn't get a human with all of these ridiculous specifications to fall in love with him in 49 years, which they keep saying 7 times 7 years, just say 49. Like, I get that the curse can say 7 times 7, but like, when we're having a conversation, we don't need to do math in it. 49 is fine. So she put a curse on Tamlin that his whole entire court, if they couldn't get this girl, this human girl, would be hers. And so Tamlin had sent Feyre away, so now they are hers, and Feyre showed back up, and Amarantha has agreed that if Feyre can accomplish 3 tasks in 3 months, each task on the full moon, she will release them, or she can solve this riddle at any time and everyone will go free. So I have heard from some people, from multiple people, that this riddle is kind of ridiculous. Like, it's very easy and Feyre should have known it from the beginning. I knew there was a riddle in this book, but I've always avoided it because I love riddles and I think they're so much fun and I kind of do them in my free time. Like, I just love riddles. And so I wanted to wait to know this one. Even though I've looked into lots of spoilers for these books, I waited to find out what the riddle was and what the answer was until right now, because I wanted to know when I read the book how much relevance it had to the story. So I'm going to read out loud the riddle to you guys right now for the first time, and I'm going to see if I can figure it out. If not, I guess I'm dumb. No, I'm not. I just don't know the riddle. I mean, that's what riddles are supposed to be, right? Tricky. Before I even look at it, I haven't looked at it yet. Like I showed you, my bookmark's covering it. If it is the letter E, I quit. Removing the bookmark, and I will read this out loud to you all. There are those who seek me a lifetime, but never we meet. And those I kiss, but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. Oh my God, is it gonna be love? At times I seem to favor the clever and the fair, and I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. By large my ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to defeat. It has to be love, or true love, or something like that. For those each of my strikes land a powerful blow. When I kill, I do it slow. It has to be love. It has to be love or true love, and it does relate to the story. I'm on page 313. So that means I have exactly 100 pages left, I think. 103 pages left. So I think the next time I will come and check in with you guys is at the absolute end of the book, and I'll let you know if I got the riddle correct or not. Hey guys, I know I said I wasn't gonna come and talk to you all until I finished the book, but I read something last night that really upset me in this book, and I wanted to come and talk to you about it before I finish, because I kind of want to make some predictions before I finish the book on what I think that upsetting scene is going to lead to later on. And I just kind of want to talk about that scene before I see like the redemption of that scene. So I'm willing to bet if you've read this book, you know what I'm going to be talking about here. I read up to page 360 last night, so I have 50 pages left, and I don't know what I last told you was happening. I think I said that Feyre has to solve a riddle and or accomplish 3 tasks in order to get the Spring Court freed. And when this is new, I think, and when she goes to complete her first task, she gets injured and she's thrown back in her prison cell, and she's worried that she's going to die from her injury. So she makes a deal with Rysand, and Rysand's deal means that she gets this actually pretty cool tattoo up her arm, and I don't have a problem with that. That part was all kind of like fun cruelty, and I'll get to talk about the not fun cruelty in just a second. So one of the things that happens is that Feyre's tasks are all 1 month apart. So she's spending a lot of time in this like underworld kind of setting. It's under the mountain, but it really feels like hell. Like it's hell. And so she's there, and every single night since Rysand healed her, he has come to her room, or he's had slaves come to her room and dress her up in basically nothing and painted her entire body, and then he has taken her to this ball dinner meal thing in front of Tamlin, and he has forced her to drink this beverage that makes her kind of lose her inhibitions, and then forced her to dance up on him. So it's just really rapey, and I'm not comfortable with it, and I'm really confused as to why I haven't heard people talking about this scene. And to be fair, I don't watch a ton of videos on ACOTAR. I know a lot of spoilers about ACOTAR, but I don't necessarily go and try to find them myself. So people could be out there talking about this and I don't know about it. But to have one character, especially male, but any gender, one character forcing another character to become inebriated and then forcing that character to do something physical with them, even if it's not the actual act of sex, any kind of physical, it is a sexual act, so any kind of physical act with that person is not good. And maybe you won't call it rape, but it is definitely on the line where I'm not comfortable with this thing that has happened. And what I'm really just not looking forward to is, I'm pretty sure in the next 50 pages, Sarah J. Maas is going to unwrite that scene. And I've already seen a little bit of it where we've seen Rysand kind of do some good for some people and kind of protect some people. And I get it, but I'm also just uncomfortable. I think right now where my bet is at, and like I said, I don't know, but where my bet is at is that he's doing this to actually protect Feyre and Tamlin, and that he's basically like claiming Feyre every single night so that no one else, like no guards, no other fae or fairies touch her or molest her or rape her. But I just think that it could have been done in another way, and I'm pretty sure the argument against that is like, if he hadn't been there with her all night or hadn't claimed her and been like, she's my woman, don't touch her, that other people, if he had just yelled at them and said like, back off of her, that it wouldn't have been as much of a threat. But I'm just really uncomfortable with this idea that Sarah J. Maas wrote and then might be trying to defend later on, and I don't know if she is going to try to defend. And it's hard because I really love cruel characters. I really love characters who are fine, like doing whatever the hell they want and hurting people and moving on. But there's a difference between cruelty and sexually molesting someone, and I think I'm starting to find the line right here. And I know that from what I've heard up until now, I really liked Rysand. He's just a really unlikable guy, and I tend to like those kind of characters. And from what I know of him in book 2, I'm really looking forward to some of the stuff and some of the scenes that he's gonna be in. But this didn't make me excited. This made me actually really, really uncomfortable. And I'm kind of in this awkward position where I was enjoying the story. Like, I didn't think it was the greatest story ever, but now I want to rate it less because I feel like that was inappropriate and uncalled for. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That was really hard and harsh, and I know a lot of you guys love this book, but maybe you can talk to me down below about how you were able to look past this scene. Because in my mind, even if Sarah J. Maas unwrites it by saying, he was defending her or whatever, I still think it was uncalled for. And I think that he wasn't uplifting Feyre through his actions. And that's how you can tell the difference between someone who's really helping another person and someone who is not helping them. And he could have easily taken a few minutes just to tell her, like, hey, you need to act it up so that Tamlin's safe. I don't know. And I don't even know if that's where it's going. So maybe I should just finish this book before I ask any questions or try to discuss this scene anymore. I finished. I had to use 3 sets of tabs because I kept running out of the colors that I wanted. And I'm definitely gonna have to order some more before I get to book 3 at least, because I'm gonna want some more orange tabs for book 4 and I don't have any. Yeah, I finished the book. I am a fan of beginnings. I love first books in series. I love the first 40% of books. I feel like that whole entire figuring things out and learning about the world and discovering who these characters are and what they're going to be doing in the story is the best part. And I think that that's why I'm more okay with DNFing books so early into the beginning, is because I feel like I figured out really quickly whether or not I like books. But I have to say with this one, I really think its strengths were in its ending. I think those last 50 pages were phenomenally better than the rest of the book, and I think that it was the best part of the book by a long shot. I was very interested in everything that happened in the last 50 pages and what I just now read, and I probably read it faster than I read anything else in this entire book. This is what my final tabbing looks like. I have a lot of orange and pink at the end, and I know you guys can't totally see it, so the end's here, and not a ton of yellow. I think the last yellow I had was that whole entire gross chapter that I talked about before. I felt like there was a lot revealed at the end that's going to be important in the next book, or is going to be revealed more so in the next book, especially with Rysand. And I definitely will say that Sarah J. Maas did do the thing I was expecting her to do, where she kind of unwrote that rapiness in that scene, but not to the extent I thought she was gonna do it. And I still don't like that scene, and I still think she could have had the story completely without it, but I can't change this book. I didn't write this book. I chose to read it. I chose to continue reading it. I'm here now to tell you that I didn't love that scene, but I'm assuming that if you've made it this far in this video, you've already read the book, so you already have your opinion on it. So other things we can discuss. Feyre is a badass. I really actually enjoyed her character a lot. There were times she annoyed me, but it felt like it was done on purpose, and it felt like she was a very well-rounded, well-developed character. I know I kind of made fun of her for not understanding the riddle, but for being almost completely illiterate and for, you know, not having the education that I have, not having the upbringing that I have. I've been surrounded by riddles my entire life, and I knew that. I knew I'd be able to guess it faster than she could, because I also could see it on paper, and I think there is something about hearing a riddle versus seeing it that makes it different. So even though I kind of made fun of her, I think she had a lot of struggles that she overcame, and I think she was really strong and powerful, and I'm really interested to know more about her. I definitely can't wait to have Nesta as my main character, because I think she's going to be way more interesting to me than Feyre, but Feyre wasn't a bad protagonist. She stood up for herself, she kicked butt, and that whole entire competition 3 challenge thing at the end was really unexpected in my opinion, and I really liked it. Although I do have to say, I felt like the plot was weak because of it, because it helped show Feyre's strengths, but having the whole entire like first 70% of the book be like one plot and then have the last 30% of the book be this competition thing felt odd to me. I'm not gonna lie, like I think there was 160 pages at the end that was just a completely different plot than the first 300 pages of the book. So that was odd. Wasn't the biggest fan of that, but I mean, she had to have those first 300 pages developed so that we understood what was happening at the end, and I don't really totally see a way around it myself. It is what it is, I guess. So I enjoyed myself reading this. I don't think it was the greatest thing I've ever read. I mean, that's not what I came into this book expecting, though. I didn't expect it to be the greatest thing ever. I figured it was going to be kind of a guilty pleasure. I mean, I hate using that expression because you shouldn't feel guilty reading or watching things, but it's a good way to describe that feeling of like, I'm not reading this for its literary analysis. I'm reading this book because I'm trying to just enjoy myself while I'm reading. So it wasn't like this highbrow literature book. It wasn't what I was expecting it to be, but I enjoyed myself for the most part through it. I definitely had some problems with it, and I do think that some of the problems I had with it, Sarah J. Maas put in here on purpose for me to have a problem with. I think that some of the decisions, especially that Tamlin made, were because she's trying to say something about Tamlin. And I think that's something that we can discuss as the series goes on, but I'm not going to discuss it here. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I think some of the things I had problems with are actual red flags that Sarah J. Maas was trying to like hint to different people and different characters about things that were happening and stuff that continued to happen in this book. I'm definitely going to continue on. I'm definitely curious to keep going with these books. I mean, I was planning on going on pretty much no matter what. I mean, if I hated this, I probably wouldn't have forced myself to, but I didn't hate it. And I'm kind of struggling with what I should rate it, just because like I really enjoyed myself, but it definitely wasn't like the greatest thing ever. And because of a few of those scenes, I'm just like, so I think I'm actually going to go with what I guess. I'm going to make a prediction right now that I will rate this book 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is a 3.5. I think that's pretty fair for this book. I think if that scene with Rysand just rubbing up on her, I haven't mentioned there was another scene with Rysand where he made out with Feyre, and that scene didn't bother me as much because I saw a direct correlation for how he was protecting her from that, and it felt very obvious in that moment while that scene was happening, whereas the scenes with like the dancing and the drinking and the forced drinking, it didn't feel like such an exact correlation. And the fact that it kept happening every single night, the kissing felt very much like I'm protecting you as a last minute resort because you made a mistake and I have to cover for you. Whereas the dancing every single night felt like I'm making this decision and I'm keep making this decision. It wasn't a one-time thing for me. I'm getting really focused on that scene. So I think if the whole entire dancing bit hadn't been in there, I would have possibly rated the book 4 stars. I don't know if I would have, honestly. I don't think, for me, it was a 4-star read. It definitely felt more like a 3.5. And I'm really hoping as I continue in the series that my predictions that I've written down for it will stay true, because that means that I'll enjoy the books more as I go. But that's all for today, folks. Yeah, this is my reading and review of A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is my first time reading it. I want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Let me know down below your thoughts, your comments, how you feel about this. If there's any other books you'd like to see me do a just one vlog on that book, I enjoy doing them. They're fun and I like when I get this in depth. I have a few more from in the past. I used to do them a lot more than I do now. So if you're interested in some other ones, check out things over there. And if you're still watching this video and you're watching because you know that my TBR board needs to be crossed off, I do get to take off one more tile for reading that. So now you're updated. But I just want to do a final thank you for watching. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I will talk to you in the comments. Bye. Wait, before you go, one final thing that I forgot to make fun of. The way that Rysand stands. So this is how Sarah J. Maas kind of wrote it. And this is probably how I'm supposed to interpret it. But every single time he freaking walked with his hands in his pockets, this is what I was laughing at.